Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already done so, there's a brand new video every single day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. A lot of surprising news. A lot of news we've just never ever gotten before. A lot of news that may shock and thrill the senses, if you will. If you haven't been a regular here, that's a nice way of saying it. Institutional buying has ramped up significantly. 95% of Bitcoin, for those of you who were not here, 95% of all Bitcoin is essentially gone. They're in wallets that aren't moving. They only have inflows. We are hearing daily, and I'll give it to you this way, at least minimum 4 times a week about an existing company, a new company, or a company who is looking to get into crypto, into Bitcoin, buying up Bitcoin. It's actually all the time. The rumors are ramping back up that we might, what's the word? That this market cycle might not end. We might have either an extended market cycle or just a continued bull market, because every time that coins get sold onto the open market, those coins are also subsequently purchased by BlackRock and every other institution out there. It's getting really intense. And once again, the only people who seem to not be paying attention are retail investors, but I'm certain that all of you are paying attention and doing exactly what you need to do to become incredibly wealthy, because if you didn't, I'd be a little bit disappointed. You've been listening to me every single day after all these years with all this constant Bitcoin news. I hope you've all been acting proactively. In very popular, surprising news, we've never ever gotten news like this before, guys. It's actually really weird because I saw it and I was like, wait, how could that possibly be? This doesn't happen on a daily basis. What else could possibly mean this? I know, sure. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy is, I don't know how they're going to outdo themselves. MicroStrategy is apparently stepping up plans to tap the capital markets to continue stacking Bitcoin as part of their corporate strategy. The Bitcoin company will be issuing $2.1 billion worth of stock and use the proceeds to buy more Bitcoin. It's surprising because we hear it every day. MicroStrategy has really aggressively, it's weird. I've said this for months now. Their aggressive strategy has become quite different looking. Their stock is doing exceptionally well. It's making all this money, yada, yada, yada. Their purchases, it feels like they're running away from and towards something. And I would say running away from poverty, but they're worth billions of dollars. So I can only imagine that it must be them trying to make sure that they remain the leader when it comes to owning so much Bitcoin. We have heard, if you weren't here, we know that MicroStrategy is trying to raise 21 billion this year and another 21 billion next year. If you happened to miss another video from this maybe a month ago, when those purchases are done, they're going to, this is what they said, they're going to raise 84 billion US dollars to buy even more Bitcoin. A lot of these purchases, and I'll say it this way so we can move on slightly. We heard from MicroStrategy that they were raising 21 billion this year, but it wasn't made clear if that would be all at once and, all in one go, or if that was going to be like in chunks. And I say that because we keep hearing, or rather we heard from Michael Saylor during another recent purchase. And he said like this was kind of like a side purchase. So I don't know if this 2.1 billion is part of the 21 that they're trying to raise this year, or if this is just another chunk of them being like, okay, we got some more. Strategy, one of the world's largest publicly listed corporate Bitcoin holders, has announced the pricing of its latest round of preferred Strife perpetual stock, which the firm does before announcing more Bitcoin buys. The company has entered into a sales agreement to issue and sell up to $2.1 billion worth of shares of STRF via an at-the-market program. Each share has a liquidation preference of $100 and has the same terms as the already 8.5 million shares that are outstanding. STRF, which offers that's crazy. They offer a 10% annual cash dividend, is only available to institutional investors. The STRF shares will be sold gradually and strategically over a period of time through a sales agreement with TD Securities, Barclays Capital, and the Benchmark Company, which will act as sales agents. Cool. I wish this news still surprised me. It's still significant. Let us not confuse that in any sort of way. This is still incredibly significant news simply because of the size of this company and the amount of Bitcoin that they have, and that this year they're still aiming for 1 million Bitcoin. I assume that we're going to, and I mean, we're already getting it all the time now, but I assume we're going to see another bit of an uptick in their buying as well, because it becomes logically more difficult to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin if Bitcoin's price keeps going up. Current price predictions that we have on the table right now is that by the end of June, early July, every analyst has said a number between $150,000 to $250,000 per Bitcoin. So I assume they want to buy as much as humanly possible, because it then becomes a lot more difficult to get to 1 million Bitcoin if Bitcoin's price is at like $347,000. Yeah, as you might have imagined, popular news, always. At this point, I'm just kind of waiting to see. I'm waiting for them to get to 1 million. That's all I can basically say. That's the MicroStrategy news. And yeah, let's move on. I found it funny that both of these news stories came out like basically at the exact same time. You should know the deal at this point. There's another company out there who is accumulating aggressively, just as much as MicroStrategy, and they're basically bouncing back and forth to see who's number two. And we might have a slight winner, at least at the moment. In a recent update from Coinotag, the name of the website, their news on the 20th of May, Bloomberg senior ETF analyst, his name is Eric Balchunas, revealed that BlackRock has amassed significant Bitcoin holdings. I know, shocking, right? Who would have assumed? Currently ranking, BlackRock has so much Bitcoin, they are just behind Satoshi Nakamoto. For those of you who don't know, there is a wallet address that is attributed to Satoshi, and it has over 1 million Bitcoin in it. The weirdest part is that a lot of people actually, bless their souls, a lot of people send their Bitcoin there to like burn their Bitcoin. It is used as a burn address. So there are people, I know it sounds crazy, who send their Bitcoin there in an effort to continue to actually decrease the circulating supply. So BlackRock is currently in second place, just behind this wallet. These holdings comprise an impressive 57% of BlackRock's total crypto assets. Market analysts suggest that if BlackRock continues on this trajectory, it could, geez Louise. If BlackRock continues on this trajectory, it could emerge as the largest Bitcoin holder in the world by the end of summer. I told you before. I expected December. If we're not there by December, we're in some kind of a really weird simulation. BlackRock and MicroStrategy by December are going to have each over 1 million Bitcoin. By the end of summer is diabolical. June, July, August, that would be 12 weeks, 12 give or take, to hold over 1 million Bitcoin and owning more than Satoshi Nakamoto. It seems relatively believable in a multitude of ways, but it's just more of a, yeah. So I actually found a chart right here. There's like a website that shows it went from nothing, that shows you how much Bitcoin BlackRock actually has. They currently are holding, it says 643,000 Bitcoin. It seems relatively believable that they're going to get to 1 million. I still say December, but if BlackRock gets to 1 million Bitcoin, by the time we get to the end of summer, we are going to have a $500,000 Bitcoin in December. If you somehow missed any of the numbers, there's barely enough Bitcoin left on exchanges for BlackRock and MicroStrategy. So if these other companies, Metaplanet, Capital 21, the blockchain group, and all the other names that we've been hearing, if they buy normally, that number decreases logically. We're not even talking about other countries. And if you also missed one of the other videos as well, universities within the United States are also buying. We're getting new companies every single day. So fascinating times ahead. That's maybe the only way to say that, because I think the supply crunch is going to be a lot more intense than people want to believe. I think a lot of retail investors don't want to think that they've missed the train, even though you haven't. There's still time. But I think there's this kind of like skepticism from retail, regardless of the fact that we keep getting this news every single day. That's the BlackRock is going to have more. That's crazy. Going to have more Bitcoin than Satoshi Nakamoto by the end of summer. I mean, it would be nice for prices, but, not for 8 billion people. And yeah, let's move on. I think what I was saying before is beginning. I don't think that we're quite there yet. But I think we're beginning to see the actual staking Bitcoin thing coming to shape. We had news around January that a lot of different protocols and a lot of different things were going to begin to launch as far as like being able to use your Bitcoin passively, which once again, this has already been a thing, but it's not like mainstream big. The idea basically being you would wrap your Bitcoin into a protocol. You'd be able to use the value of said Bitcoin on that chain, and you'd subsequently be able to use it in a number of DeFi protocols, basically making passive income. And I told you, a lot of these things have, many of them have been on decentralized exchanges, but when these products become regulated and they end up launching like directly on crypto. Like I told you before in another video, you know how when you go onto Coinbase or Binance, it doesn't matter, and it says like, hey, earn 7% when you stake your Tether, or you do this on here. When they start listing that as like a normal thing everywhere for Bitcoin, that's when it's going to really actually take off. So I think we're still in the beginnings of it, but I think by the end of this year, if we the way that other bull runs have worked historically is that if we see prices begin to like take off, institutions jump in really, really fast. Kind of like, I guess maybe a FOMO thing. I'm not really sure. If we start ripping and roaring and go to a 300, 400, $500,000 Bitcoin, we're going to see a lot of these products begin to pop up because they'll know that there's going to be like a need and a demand for them. Crypto exchange OKX will be launching a wrapped Bitcoin asset called XBTC, as well as related yield products. Bitcoin recently broke through a new all-time high, surpassing 111,000. Fantastic. According to the official announcement, XBTC is a wrapped token that is pegged 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. Users can start simultaneously depositing and, okay, cool, since the 22nd of May, depositing and withdrawing this actual wrapped token. The product will be initially available on 3 chains. It's going to be on Solana, on Sui, and on Aptos. XBTC is fully managed and supported by it says Euro USD. Is that should that mean something to me? That's the name. Okay. Users verify the transparency of their assets in real time through the on-chain proof of reserve. By launching this product on the exchange, OKX hopes to boost cross-chain liquidity for Bitcoin and keep up with the rising demand for Bitcoin-related products among their user base. They don't say what the returns are for this thing. I'm trying to, if nothing else, if everything that I've ever said you just don't ever pay attention to, please understand that not only is Bitcoin going to make it surprise right, but Bitcoin's going to continue rising in price. Make sure that you are part of it in some sort of way, however you manage to do that for yourself. We are going to see these products really take over the market. As institutional investors have said before, they call Bitcoin boring. And it's not that Bitcoin is actually boring. It's because Bitcoin doesn't give them an extra return on what they have. They're used to buying stocks, and then the stocks give them a dividend. Usually when you have Bitcoin, you simply look at it and number go up. But we're going to start seeing a lot of these protocols and these, like I told you, on crypto exchanges. That's when it becomes big. And then we're going to start seeing numbers for the TVL, the total value locked of Bitcoin on other exchanges. So you know how like we see, for those of you who missed it, 95% of Bitcoin is now in the hands of rich people because they keep buying it. What we're going to... Hold on, sorry. Jeez Louise. I lost my train of thought. I looked at the screen and I completely just kind of lost everything. The point of the matter basically is, yes, TVL. What we're going to begin to see are also metrics for how much Bitcoin is locked within Bitcoin and locked within crypto exchanges. So we will see in real time that the circulating supply has also dropped dramatically. So, you know, we'll see for Ethereum, there's charts and stuff. It says the amount of Ether, 25% of all Ether is locked up. This logically tells us there's only 75% up for grabs. We're going to start to see that 22% of all Bitcoin is locked up in staking protocols. 4% of all Bitcoin is locked in this. And the other thing is people are trying, I don't know how this is going to work out, but bless them. People are trying to make like native staking on the Bitcoin blockchain. I don't know what the payout will be, like what the yield is going to be from said thing, but people apparently are working on it. Maybe it'll be some other kind of a chain, but they've said like on chain. So I don't know really what that could possibly be. Anyway, yes, this is going to be big. Understand that all of these coins are going to have some kind of a passive income aspect. This is why Cardano is really popular, why Ethereum is very popular. They're working on it with XRP, and many other chains also have staking. It is going to be the future. You buy the coins, you hold on to them, you stake them, you make passive income, you live your best life. That's how the future is going to be. That's the OKX is launching their own wrapped Bitcoin called XBTC. And yeah, let's move on. This is one of those things where I think we are supposed to care, but I sincerely do not. We've been hearing, first of all, it's major news, fantastic. The other part is that we've been hearing a lot about and from institutions who once shunned the cryptocurrency space, called all of us losers. Never forget that. Never forget when these people who run the world say that we're crazy or whatever, or that we shouldn't be into Bitcoin, or that it's only for criminals. And then these people jump at the opportunity to get into it. We recently had JP Morgan talk about that they're going to allow their customers to buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's not that bad. And it's like, okay, sure, why not? So another company by the name of Vanguard. Vanguard is one of the largest, one of the mutual fund and ETF funds and all these other things, like kind of company. They're very, very, very well known. Last year, when we got the Bitcoin ETFs through BlackRock and Fidelity, people were like, okay, Vanguard will clearly be next. Many of these companies are run by dinosaurs. That is not to make fun of someone's age. It is simply to say it's difficult for, like, there's a learning curve for Bitcoin for all of us. When we first heard about crypto, it sounded insane. What do you mean I'm buying numbers on a screen? Where is it? Where's this? I can't touch it. It's not physical. It only exists online. There's a lot to work through, but we all got there. The institutions know the exact same thing. It just happens to be that in many ways, remember when I told you before about like Warren Buffett and all these people, they've made their money through a certain system that they don't want to see disappear. And this is why you see a lot of companies like getting into Bitcoin, because they understand it, and they also realize you got to catch them all, because if you don't get them now, you won't be able to do it in the future, and this is how money will be made. Other companies, they just want to continue doing the same exact thing. Years ago, I told you the story. For those of you who don't know, there were a number, not one, but like a plethora of countries on the planet who almost didn't adopt the internet. They thought it was unnecessary. They thought it was something new, that like a fad that would simply disappear, and people would use it for a year and then realize that paper mail was easier, or simply calling someone on the phone. It sounds crazy now because everything we do is on the internet. But back then it made sense to them. It's the same exact thing with the telephone. Same exact thing with cars. If you look up, old, obviously, news articles from like the 1910s and 1920s, there were people writing articles like, we have horses. Why in the world would we need this metal thing? Like, you want us to sit in metal with wheels? Like really? So this kind of adoption takes a long time, and it shouldn't. But humans aren't the smartest on the planet. So now there are rumors circulating about Vanguard and their potential next steps into the cryptocurrency space. And this is why I said, why should we care? But when this does make news, it's because people believe it'll have some kind of another like Black Rocky effect, in that they'll announce that they're getting into it, prices will go up, everyone gets richer, and it's like, if you don't want to be in our market, we don't need you. We don't really care that you're not there, because we know that we're going to make it even if it's just us. We also have so many other institutions. Like, I get that Vanguard is extremely wealthy. God bless them. But the other part is that, like, also we don't really care, because if we already have MicroStrategy and BlackRock taking all the Bitcoin It doesn't really matter if Vanguard enters or not. They can enter at $3 million per coin for all I care. They're already rich. Go do something else that rich people do. Bloomberg's Eric Balchunas is expecting Vanguard to allow Bitcoin ETF trading in a year or two, even if it never issues a Bitcoin ETF itself. More financial institutions are embracing Bitcoin, with JP Morgan becoming the latest. And then it talks about Bitcoin's price and yada, yada, yada. I mean, sure. Cool. It sounds fun. I don't ever tip the hat to a $1 trillion company because they're going to do fine just by themselves. If they don't want to be here, they don't have to be here. That's how being an adult works. If you don't want to do it, you don't got to do it. If they don't want to get into Bitcoin, that's fine. If they don't want to invest, that's cool. If they don't want cryptocurrency assets, if they don't want to be part of the market, I wish them the best, and I'll see them in 2032. Because I assume at that point, Vanguard will have their own multiple Bitcoin ETFs. But yeah, there are a lot of rumors. For those of you, the current big boy rumors are Vanguard announcing potentially eventually that they're going to get into Bitcoin ETF, and also it's still this BlackRock XRP ETF thing. That's also still rumoring around, basically with the lawsuit over, that BlackRock at some point in the near future is going to put in an application for an XRP ETF, which would kind of all but solidify that other companies would get theirs. But we'll see what happens. Who knows what's going to go on. Yeah, that's the Vanguard news. Awesome. Coolio. Let's move on. Also in the news, I'll put this right next to the last one. I think this is like, we're supposed to be excited about this news. I don't know if you've been seeing a lot of like the stablecoin news and the stablecoin bill news and the stablecoin regulations news. That's mainly banks. It's mainly banks and institutions who want to make their own stablecoins because they're trying to push aside Circle and Tether. They realize that there's a huge amount of money to be made and they want to do the exact same thing. So we're getting a lot of like stablecoin acceptance news kind of, but people in crypto keep framing it as like something positive for us, which it could be, as it could add a large amount of liquidity to our markets, but also like no one's asking for stable coins except for banks who just are greedy and want to make more money. That's kind of what it is. Hong Kong passed legislation on Wednesday creating a licensing regime for fiat reference stablecoins, advancing its goal of becoming a digital hub while responding to concerns over investor protection and financial stability. The new law passed by the city's Legislative Council requires FRS issuers to obtain a license from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Licensees must comply with a range of requirements covering reserve asset management, redemption at par value, segregation of client funds, anti-money laundering controls, disclosure, and fitness. Okay. And proprietary standards. Propriety? Property. It's propriety. I said it right. Standards. Cool. This is also popping up like every other day. A lot of stablecoin news. If you look into what it is, or the people funding these bills are really trying to get them to go through, or talking so happily about them on the twits. It's always somebody who's associated with a bank or a central bank trying to get these things to go through because they basically want their own stable coin. So get ready for that in the next 2 years. That's going to be a lot of fun, where crypto exchanges are going to be listing banks' stable coins, and you're going to be offered stable coins by your bank. And what was the other thing recently? It was from MasterCard. Oh gosh, what was it? they said that they're trying to offer people, what was it, cashback? It was something ridiculous. This was like 3 weeks ago. MasterCard said that they're trying to like make their own stable coin, but they want you as a customer to swap your money, like send money from your bank account to MasterCard, and then MasterCard will swap it into a stable coin. And then when you use your card, you can use that stable coin, and then that stable coin gets swapped back into the local currency after the transaction. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I'd rather, crypto exchanges already have it so you can just use your cryptocurrency balances with a Visa card. Why the 13 extra steps? They're salivating. They want stable coins so bad. The problem is, if 38,000 banks and companies make their own stable coins, they're not going to all be interoperable. We can't use all of them. So, oh boy, weird times ahead. That's the stablecoin bill or law passed. Cool. Can't wait to not use them. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.